morning, everybody. All right. Everybody's had a chance to go through and grab some lunch? All right, perfect. So what I wanted to do is just kind of dive right into this. A couple of folks have been at these events before. I was just chatting with Clerk Monica Gordon, trying to figure out the fray. I'm going to call her Monica. Yeah? All right, there we go. We'll keep this informal. What we wanted to do is just have just kind of a everyday conversation. We'll have just a couple of comments up here, and then we'd love to take some questions from anybody in the room about issues related to voting, the clerk's office, what they do. She's got a great setup over here with a bunch of staff, right? So they've brought a lot of things. I'm very jealous. I'm going to ask for a budget to kind of do my own things like this. But what I wanted to do is just kind of kick it off and get started. And most of you know, do most of you know that we're bringing early voting to this room? Yeah, see, there you go. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this. So we want to have our guest speaker out just to get to know you, have a chat. This is Mary Norwell, who's the village clerk, and we'll talk a little bit about how the village clerk's office coordinates with the county clerk's office to make sure how the elections are run. So we'll keep it casual, and then we'll open it up for some questions. Sound good? I don't know if we have another round of cookies or not, so can't promise you any more sugar. But just to kind of get started, you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know your background story and when you got elected and the whole
Sure.
shot.
I'm Monica Gordon. I'm Cook County Clerk. Before that, I was a Cook County Commissioner for the 5th District, which is the far south side and parts of the south suburbs. Before that, I was a trustee on Prairie State College Board. I also was the Director of Government Affairs for Chicago State University. I've done a plethora of things in my career since I'm graduating from graduate school. Before that, I was the executive director of the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. Before that, I had a career in medical sales. But it's people like, you went from medical sales to this, but a lot of the skills are transferable because it was about building relationships, and I love people. I truly consider myself a servant because it's all about serving the people. I work for the taxpayers, and so my job is to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to serve you.
We're not going to let you off that easy. If there's any one thing you've enjoyed the most about being in this elected office.
Yes. I would say the election part of it. I remember when I first voted, when I just turned 18, and because of, I'm really big on knowing my history and knowing that what people went through for the opportunity to vote. I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, which was the first black sorority to participate in the women's suffrage movement. So just knowing my history and knowing everything that occurred and how people really put their lives on the front line for the opportunity to vote, this is exciting that I get to do my part to increase voter confidence and to encourage voter turnout and give people information, and it's really exciting. So I would say that's my favorite part of the job.
No, good to hear.
Thank you.
You know, it's amazing how many people, it's not an everyday thought anymore. It wasn't that long ago in history women couldn't vote in America.
Exactly.
It really was.
Yes.
Not much over 100 plus years, right?
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Can you believe that?
Come a long way. So.
Yeah, a very long way. I know you have 2 women committee persons that I want to definitely recognize. The Democratic committee person, Beth Kirkwood, is here, and your Republican committee person, Cindy Katsinas, as well. So I want to definitely acknowledge them and the work that they both do to turn out the vote. Thank you. Thank you.
While we're here, Dina, you want to stand up? Dina Lawrence is one of our trustees in Orland Park. I'm thrilled to have her on the village board, and I think you thought I was technically nuts when I asked you to run for office on the ticket, but I'm thrilled she's here. She's an engineer, and she has an MBA from the University of Chicago, which is how we first met.
Impressive,
so
Dina. I love it. I love it. Girl power.
Exactly. Exactly. And then here is Mary Ryan Norwell, our clerk. Mary, you have an interesting life story. Here. Sorry.
Well, first, before
It's on.
I I talk about me, I would like to say thank you to all of you who came out and voted last year and voted for us. So that's the reason that we are here today. And voting is very dear to my heart. And once we get into it, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. But like Monica, I believe my history has been a history of public service. And that's how I approached this job. I started out a long time ago as a shampoo girl for $1 an hour. But my professional life, I was an investigator for the state's attorney in DuPage, put myself through law school at night, became an assistant state's attorney in Cook County, and stayed there for my career. When I retired from there, I went to work for Catholic Charities for a while, went to work for a law firm that did municipal law, and now I'm here. You know, I really enjoy it. When we were elected, they asked me about where I wanted my office, and I said, put it front and center. We want to be the people that when you come to the village hall and you have a question, that you come to us. Or, you know, or as we are the voting registrar out here in Orland Park. So you can come and vote with us. But what you can do is ask us any question, because we will help you out any way that you can. The clerk's position is a little bit different, even though I ran as an elected official. If you watch the meetings, I don't have a vote. But being who I am, I have a voice. And you will hear my voice.
I go back with Mary. Trust me, she does. She does.
And I've been lucky to know Monica for about 10 years now in our different ranges through our public life. So I'm very honored to sit with you here today.
The honor is all mine, Mary.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to say this, the honor too is to be with you guys, because you're such an engaged community here in Orland Township. And I mean, I really respect and admire and appreciate that. Do you guys know that for the last 5 years, your township has had the highest voting turnout in Cook County, the second largest county in the country? That's amazing. So I can't express to you how appreciative I am. And Jim has been amazing in making sure to increase the voter convenience for you all. And we're very grateful to you under your leadership. This has been really amazing. Thank you.
Very, very kind. And when I first got elected back in '89, which was last century, just so we can kind of date stamp this thing, I was a village clerk and tried to do everything we could to increase voter registration and transparency and making sure information was available. Because what Mary didn't say is that when you're a municipal clerk, you are the official record keeper for the village. So when people ask questions, I'd like the budget, I'd like somebody's voting history, I'd like to know anything about this, it comes effectively through Mary's office. But before we go, you got to tell the story about your private investigator, your undercover investigator day. Does she look like an undercover investigator? I just love this story. That's why I want her to tell it.
He does like this story. So I told you that when I first got out of college, I was an investigator for the state's attorney's office in DuPage. For the elected state's attorney had come from DEA and promised back in like the 70s to clean up drugs, you know. And I went undercover. I was doing an internship, and then I was hired. But I did undercover work in high schools, okay, where I enrolled as a student and bought a lot of drugs. This was...
I mean, who knew, right? Who knew?
Well, you know, and that goes to show our society. Back then, or even now, they don't think of women as police officers. And it was, frankly, we were breaking windows out in DuPage County, where I was one of the first women to be hired in law enforcement out there. And I've always finished with the story with one of the guys who I bought from asked me to prom. And
it didn't go so well, I don't think.
It did not, because I said no because I knew that the next week I was arresting him. But it was good work. We did clean up a lot of drugs, and that's how I got my start in service. Thank you.
There you go.
I
Thanks.
love it.
All right. So, what I'd love to do is, as I mentioned, and the reason I was asking is just to find out how many people know, because that's part of our challenge as public officials, is making sure the public knows what services are available. It's an ongoing thing with any office of elected office. So, it was pretty clear that the township had kind of outgrown that facility for early voting. Did anybody wait outside last year? Pretty long line, right? And there's always been parking issues. So it came together pretty quickly, and I'll let Madam Clerk tell the story about how this room became a logical place to move early voting going forward. So we're thrilled to have them here. We need your help to spread the word. Monica?
Well, so Mayor Jim Dodge was very helpful in making this happen. So this was really about voter convenience. There, the Civic Center has more parking availability, more indoor space. So it was a rational decision, a logical decision to move the early voting. And he made it so convenient and easy. So you guys should be very grateful because he wants to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate in democracy. And we're really thankful for that. Thank you.
Happy to coordinate with your office because, wherever you are politically, right, left, center, whatever that means these days, and we all know here things keep shifting, you have to vote, right? There's nothing more profound than come out and vote. You like choice A, you like choice B, and so making it convenient, and it just seemed to me that I'd rather have a whole bunch of people standing inside in air conditioning or in heat, depending on the election, in this hallway coming into this room. So we could talk a little bit about how the room gets set up and that. So just thrilled that we could work with the clerk's office to make sure that happens. So now everybody needs to tell everybody that early voting is moved from the township office to the Civic Center, and that will be a lot more parking and a lot easier for everyone. So, can we answer any questions about the early voting? The clerk's brought some staff so we can answer any technical questions.
And I also want to make sure you guys are aware of the United States Postal Service changes in terms of mail voting. So typically your your mail ballot has to be postmarked by March 17th. Well, now it needs to be postmarked and processed. So you can't wait. You got to submit that ballot as soon as possible. Request your ballot early. Mail your ballot early, or you could take it right to the post office, ask the clerk to postmark it for you on the spot. You can also take it to one of the 55 early voting locations where there'll be a secure ballot box where you can put it in. So if you vote by mail, do it sooner than later. Typically, we receive the ballots in waves. So most people do vote early enough where the ballot will be counted before March 17th. But please do not wait. It is urgent it is critical that you mail in your ballot or take it to one of the 55 early voting locations to the ballot box so it is counted. So don't wait. Request it soon and mail it soon.
Curious, has anybody here done that? Dropped off the mail-in ballot? Because we
Awesome.
started. We all, you'll be shocked to know that if you're running for office, you go where the voters are, which is why we're always out there waving at you when you try to go vote, right? We can't help ourselves. But I've noticed a definite increase in the number of people who will get the mail-in ballot and then fill it out, and they'll walk into that polling place with the sealed envelope. And as the clerk just said, there's a secure place for you to do that. So if you have any issues about your vote being counted or vote security, bring the vote in yourself to her staff.
Yes. And I don't know if you heard about the pilot program we're doing with the smart ballot box, where it's as secure as possible, meaning your ballot is tracked from when you put it in that box. There's surveillance camera to see who's putting it in the box, so from start to finish. So we want to incorporate the latest technology to make sure we continue to have a fair, secure democracy. Yes.
I have a question. So I worked as a voting judge, or whatever, polling judge, I guess is what it's called, for over 20 years. My husband did also. And our daughter has been out of the house since college. She has been married for 14 years. She lives in Will County, is a registered voter, and is an active voter. While we were still polling judges, we would get mailing through your office for her to vote with her voter card. And so, knowing the process, I filled out the paperwork year after year after year. We continue to get her voter card in our mail in Orland Park to this day. She has reported it herself through whatever means we have, and we just now just throw it out. But with that information, she could vote in 2 places in 2 different counties, and I think that's wrong.
And you know what? You're right. It's wrong and it's inaccurate. And I tell you what, we're going to take care of that today. I have my amazing deputy clerk of elections. So we're going to capture that information, and we're going to make sure that we're aware that this can be something that's happening. So we want to make sure that we're getting an accurate count, that no one is able to vote twice or vote in 2 different counties. So I appreciate you bringing that to my
But me
attention.
as a judge knew the process perfectly to get her off the roll call.
She'll be off now. Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll, a couple of questions. Go ahead.
So, I have a question. So, you talked about you're going to be like digitally tracking some of, the voters, the ballots. When they, how can you let the individual that votes, let them know that we've received your ballot? Is there going to be a notification that comes back to those voters too, to make them aware that they've received it? Because especially if you have information like their email. I mean, what if they were to get 2 emails saying we received them both? I mean, is there going to be anything like that where you can see whether or not, I can see whether or not I've voted, you guys have received my ballot?
I'm going to direct this question to Ed Michalowski, who's my deputy clerk of elections. He works with the company Runback that manufactures the smart ballot box.
Thank you, Clerk. Yeah, so
Do you need anything?
on the
You good?
on the mail,
Need
so
anything?
when mail is accepted, that's one of the issues. When the mail comes back to us, return mail. When the mail comes returned to us, we put it in the system. You vote 2 federal elections without voting at that point, you get made inactive. But we'll contact you to make sure your daughter's taken off the rolls. On the smart ballot box, what's going to happen is that there is your voter information and a barcode on that mail ballot that will be tracked to us, and the voter will receive 2 pieces of information. They'll receive an email, or on the next iteration of the system, and or a text message saying your ballot has been received. And when the ballot is verified, you'll receive a message that the ballot has been counted. So there's a pilot program now. We're moving the pilot program to a full program where actually we'll be able to review both the signature on the ballot before the ballot even gets back to the operations center. So we'll have the verification. The signature will compare to the verification of the signature in the voter registration system. And you will know then that your ballot has been received and counted in much less time than it was before.
Thank you, Ed. Is there anything else that you feel like should be addressed regarding early voting that this constituency should know about?
Well, we're really proud that 2 of the high schools in the area are going to be voting, both Andrew and Stagg. We're going to have 24 high schools that are going to do peer-to-peer early voting for the first time in the country. And there was this really unknown sports team known the Chicago Bears that have sponsored the program with us, and it's just fantastic. So, the clerk's goal is to really just have voting a part of people's lives. When you're a senior and you can vote, it's right there in the high school. So if it becomes normal, that population is going to go from 1% voter turnout to who knows, and they're going to have a voice, and they're going to have a seat at the table.
And we're always looking for election judges. They can make $250 a day. Polling technicians make about $400 a day. So please encourage people to sign up. They can go to cookcountyclerk.com. And please sign up for our newsletter where you can get monthly updates as well. They have the flyer with the QR code as well.
Did you want a question?
I do have a question. Because she said she did it year after year after year, what is your excuse for that?
Well, I don't know. I can't make an excuse for that because I don't know the specific situation. But when the mail doesn't get delivered and it gets returned to the clerk's office, the statute allows that and 2 elections where it's a national election, so the even number years, then you get moved off the rolls. I'm not certain what was done. I'm not certain who was called.
Well, that's the point. If you're not certain, how's it gonna get resolved?
Well, it's going to be resolved when the mail's not accepted. When the mail comes back to the clerk's office, if you accept mail from someone who doesn't live there, and the post office continues to deliver someone's mail to a location that doesn't live there, when it bounces back is when we get the official notification.
We would send it back.
But it has to come from the post office as undeliverable per statute. I know some of this doesn't make as much.
So that's what you're saying. The fact that she opened it is what made it not.
No, when the post office isn't the entity that says it's undeliverable, that's really the catalyst behind it. The post office saying
Because of
that
state
this
law.
is bouncing back because it's undeliverable, and then we can take action. So we purge 80 to 100,000 people a year who don't live at that address anymore because we got it back, and then we move them off the rolls.
Okay, but what you're also saying then is anybody who wants to vote twice can go on.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we drop data. We drop data down to the state. The state then verifies to make sure that every county and election jurisdiction know who voted, and individuals who voted twice will get prosecuted. Just like when you register to vote, you have to be a U.S. citizen. I mean, there's some misnomers in our reality that people are voting twice or these other things are happening, and that's just not the reality. If someone votes twice, it's a felony.
So if they had voted in both districts.
It's a felony.
You would have found it? You would
Yes.
have-
There's a very good
and
chance
you know
of that.
what?
I mean, we can't say that because A happens, we're going to accept this other, the scoff law, we're just going to allow it to happen. No, I mean, if someone votes twice, they know they're voting twice. You know you're going to vote twice if you are, and you're going to be held accountable.
It is, if you don't live at the house, send the mail back.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, don't accept it.
You first. You're better at this than I am. I was just going to kind of emphasize the point about the state law.
In terms of, I mean, as Ed mentioned, if you vote twice, you will be prosecuted. Just like if someone utilizes a credit card they're not supposed to, they'll be prosecuted. Things happen that are beyond our control, just like anything. Well, that's
Yes.
what he's saying. He
Yes.
stated, yes, you would know because it would show up. But yeah, things are beyond our control. But we'll do everything we can to prevent this from happening. Like he said, has many voters that are not supposed to be on the voter rolls that are purged every year, every election year.
Use the microphone so
I'm
everybody-
sorry, every election year. We're doing everything we can to make this process, to continue to make this process better and better as time. But we want you to hold us to the fire. We want you to say things like this. So I thank you for that because we need to make sure that this is mitigated and eventually eliminated.
I'll just say this, as a citizen, if two came to my home, I wouldn't think to just throw it back in the mail. I would think it's a really important piece of paper that should be processed through, not just returned. And I would have done what she did and tried to contact and try to make sure that this person came off the rolls or, got I would not have thought to just return it to the
Just an opinion, right? Is that the state law, I think, is biased towards maximum voter availability, which is probably why it's in the code that they have to get it back from an official entity, the post office, as opposed to you or me sending it back. So that's an important point about just how I think we approach democracy generally. So that's point number one. Point number two, I could tell you, having looked at a lot of state election databases, as he said, and he said it better than I could, Will County sends in their voter records to the state of Illinois. Cook County sends in their voter records. The state puts it together. So if you showed up as voting in the same election in two addresses, you have a very serious legal problem. So the state is the one who catches people voting twice. So the clerk's office in Cook County can't possibly know if you voted in one of 101 other counties. So the state does it. So that control, that factor is operating in the background. That's how I'm fairly confident that the in terms of who's voting, you don't see nearly as much people voting in multiple counties as people allege. The state's catching it. Is that fair? Correct. I don't know if you want to say that better.
No, it's absolutely. So Illinois is is a top-down. So with the counties manage the elections, right? The state isn't telling us exactly how to manage each election, but we report all of the voters. When we report voters, there's certain identifiable information, last four, social security number, driver's license, address, and everything else goes back to the state. So when two of those come together, the State Board of Elections will contact both election authorities, will contact the Attorney General's office and or the state's attorney for the respective county, and will take appropriate legal action.
We got a question here and a question there. We'll come back. No, you.
How often does that happen, that you have several people voting at the same time?
Infrequent.
Pretty minor.
There may be one or two inquiries every year or two. Yeah.
Because I think that I look at a lot of data. That's what I do for a living. The state puts these data sets together. If you ever see your voter registration numbers or on the data file, you have a very specific identifier to the state of Illinois, your state voter ID. And it's assigned to every voter as the county systems catch up. So you have a number as a voter to the state of Illinois. If you try to vote in Will County and Cook County, that number is going to give you away. Yeah, it's the same. No, it's just you have exactly one state ID voter number.
Oh, this might seem like a weird question, but with all the things that we're hearing on TV about
Hey, let's get you a microphone so everybody can hear the question.
the weird things that we're hearing on TV about, our information regarding our, registration for elections and turning over our information to the federal government. How true is that? Is that happening even, or is that just, more rhetoric?
At Cook County, I have not turned over anyone's information to the federal government.
Right. I mean, so it's a null point.
I'm not saying nothing was ever requested. There may be
Okay.
a reason that certain information may be requested from the federal government, but from my office, we have not turned over any personal information to the federal government.
With what's happening with voting now, it seems like they're making a lot of restrictions, like the particular date now with the early voting, they're making it more restrictive. Same thing is happening with women now. They're saying if you have this is for the young women who are just getting married and they change their name. Is that going to affect us, or is that just something they're talking about, again, rhetoric?
You're referring to the SAVE Act, which is federal legislation. So that's currently being debated.
Oh,
Could it affect you as a female voter? Yes.
well, that's what
Yes.
I'm worried about. They're talking about all these young women that have to change. They don't have to change their name, but that's tradition. And they're saying, well, if your name isn't exactly the way it was when you were born, you're going to be restricted. And I don't think that's right. And do we have to worry about that for the younger generation?
It's, like I said, it is definitely some legislation that's being currently debated in Congress. Hold on a second, Mary.
The only thing I would say with that is that get your real ID, okay? A lot of those issues about maiden names and where you live are all dealt with prior to that at the Secretary of State level with a real ID.
So then my granddaughter would have to, she'd be turning 18 soon, and she would be the one that would have to make sure she gets a real ID?
Everyone should have.
Everybody, even old people? Old lady?
Yeah, I think the idea, right? What's the old phrase? I think some of you have heard it in this room. The road to hell is paved with good intention. You guys ever hear that phrase? And so it may be a well-intentioned idea about voter integrity, but what they're currently talking about makes absolutely no sense to me.
And I want to say that we do have to make voting as accessible and easy as possible for our constituency. That's extremely important, and that's how you increase levels of democracy. I'm not in favor of the SAVE Act. I think it could be detrimental to not only voter confidence, voter convenience, but like I stated before, it's legislation that's currently being debated.
Well, we would want to oppose that, wouldn't we? I mean, they're making it more restrictive for everybody, especially females. Wouldn't we want to not do that?
So that would be, your personal decision. I'm opposed to it. I would be too. So,
If you feel strongly about it, quite frankly, between your U.S. senators, Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, and then here I think we were represented by primarily Caston and is it Representative Jackson? I think the districts have shifted and such. Send them an email. No, this is federal. Mary Gill is your state representative, so this is Durbin and Duckworth at the federal level. And if you feel passionately about this, you have questions, those offices are usually really pretty good about you as a citizen reaching out to them, because that's how the democracy functions, right? Which is you got to let, if you're in public office, of any public office, if we're not hearing from a wide range of people, we're not doing our job. So definitely, if you feel strongly about these issues, a simple letter or an email to your federal representatives is really important.
yeah, because they vote on it.
Bill again?
SAVE Act.
I'm sorry?
The SAVE Act, SAVE. Your federal representatives will vote on this. So yes, it's critical that you reach out to them. I'm actually attending a virtual debate about it tonight. So I'm not sure where it's at in terms of the next time it'll be called to the floor. But you're in the thick of it now. So I would say there's Google resources that can maybe tell you about the latest debate or virtual forum that explain it and explain where it's at and the legislative procedure. And yeah.
Ma'am, we'll come back. There's one back. Go ahead.
SAVE.
One question, we get a microphone so everybody can hear.
Where would I find the state ID voting number? My number. Is it something on the card related to voting or what?
All right, so your voter card, if you're a Cook County resident, will have your county number. What we're doing right now with the state, with our voter registration and theirs, we're going to merge that, so it'll be easy for you to receive. But if you ask for data from the state, you'll get that information. Okay. So it's in the works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an ugly, horrible number that makes no sense. Alphanumeric, and it's got numbers and it's got letters, but it's your ID. Question?
What day is this voting thing going to open? What is the first
what
date
day are we
right here
opening
in
early
this?
voting?
Oh, early voting starts on March 2nd here. Yes, and also just to let you know that there will be early voting at selected sites starting on February 18th. And those are the 4 courthouses, which are Markham, Rolling Meadows, Bridgeview, and Skokie. And also at 69 West Washington in the Petway, and as well as Melrose Park Village Hall. So those are select sites that you can vote at on starting February 18th. But early voting at the 55 sites, including here, starts March 2nd.
Quick question for the group. Show of hands. Do most people prefer voting in person or by paper? In person? Okay. Do you like early voting or day of the election? There you go. And the reason I'm asking, and we kind of guessed, I think that in Orland Park and in Orland Township, we're probably up to maybe 40, 50, even 60% of the votes are cast early.
Yeah, you guys, like I said, you have the highest early voting turnout, and I'm just really excited. Thank you for that. And early voting, people are voting early. This is what's happening. And more people are voting by mail. I believe the last presidential election, 2024,
Crazy.
there were, 192,000 mail ballots here in Cook County. So people are voting early and they're voting by mail. Convenience is the key.
What about sample ballots?
The sample.
I feel that we don't get them soon enough. You know, like to know who and what we're voting for, what position.
So as the clerk, I would not deal with sample ballots because my office is nonpartisan, right, in terms of elections. But I am also a committee person. So I do in my township, I help try to influence or direct the vote of certain specific candidates. But from the clerk's office, no, we want to empower you to vote for whoever you want to vote. So it's
I understand that, but I mean, just to know who would be on the sample, like a sample ballot.
you mean just whoever voting, who's ever voting in each? You can look on our website for that,
What is the website?
cookcountyclerk.com.
And that's one of the reasons there's a lot of information back here, and because there's a number of other things that the clerk's office does. So we should touch on those a second. Mary?
Just the one thing I wanted to add to that is that the ballot has to be certified. And as a former election attorney, when somebody challenges somebody on the ballot, a lot of times that will, start at the municipal level and can go up to the Supreme Court. So that is eating away at the time, and the ballot cannot be certified until all of those people who are running are certified too.
Is everybody in your family registered to vote? Do they vote regularly? Okay, good. Because that's, it's amazing how many, we've all had this. People will tell you they don't like A or they don't like B or they don't like C. Then you ask them if they vote and all of a sudden the conversation stops. I don't know if that happens to you on Thanksgiving, but sometimes it does. Go ahead, ma'am.
My question is, what happened to the time when they talked about primary, where they were going to eliminate, when you go in, either Republican or Democrat? You still have to declare yourself.
In terms of, you mean the primary election?
Correct.
As of now, yes.
But I thought they were trying to change that. What happened?
Well, that wouldn't be done at the county. If that's
I just didn't know if you knew yet.
No.
That'd be a state change.
Yeah, that would have to go through legislation at the state.
So I think California may be going with the whole rank. I'm not. Don't quote me. Ranked order voting or no real primary. So if you could wind up with 2 or 3 people running from one party because nobody from the other party made it. So there's a few experiments going around the country with that type of thing. But as the clerk said, it's definitely a state legislative change.
Any changes like that into any changes such as that into the election process has to be legislated.
We had a question here.
Back to Mary's point earlier about register for the real ID. I'm just thinking,
Can you use a microphone just so everybody can hear?
Why don't we make this simple and just have similar rules for the real ID as well as voting? This way, it's all on the same page. And there's no question about, are you doing this in this system and this and that system? Require everybody to have the verification that you put forward for the real ID, and then that transfers over to your voting status. I don't know how to do that, but I'm asking you to consider something like that so you make it simple for people that they're not dealing with 2 systems all the time. And there's a lot of people that don't drive, so I understand the whole Secretary of State and the real ID, but you can get a state ID if you're not a driver or you're past your, age to drive, and you could still prove your legality or whatever you want to call it for that type of system. It just, I don't know.
And I understand we're in this age, we want everything to be as convenient as possible.
Yeah.
But in terms of, so real ID is administered through the Secretary of State, but it's a federal, it's a federal document, right?
Okay.
Our elections are pretty much in the United States are decentralized. So in terms of, there are some states where, the Secretary of State handles the elections for the state. Here in Illinois, our counties handle the election. So there are 2 different kind of components.
But
so,
couldn't you adapt to have similar information so that everybody has a simple way of,
well, I'm not
with
saying
the
that
process?
agencies don't share information in terms of, maybe they can have access to the information. And I get what you're saying about convenience, but I want you to understand that it's much more difficult than it sounds because you're dealing with different, like I said, the real ID, even though it's administered through the Secretary of State, it's a federal program versus how we do our voting registration.
It's not a bad idea, but
something to
no,
consider.
it's
We're always looking for improvement.
and that,
But we wouldn't be the ones to consider it. It'll be a lot of different parties considering it. But I think it's a good idea to make things more convenient.
Conversation.
all right, we have a question over here.
Yes, sir. I totally agree, because I, for one, have been hit with so many letters in the last 2 years of identity theft that somebody stole my identity, and some of it was even from the government. that said that my information was leaked out, my husband's information. I have 6 kids. All of their information was leaked out as well. So it would be great if there was one universal ID that could allow you to vote, allow you to drive, allow you to get medical assistance, whatever. So then there isn't any kind of fraud going on the back end of it. Because I'll tell you what, I'm sick and tired of having to redo my checking accounts, my savings accounts, my retirement, worrying about whether or not somebody is going to tap into my stuff that I've been saving a lifetime for.
Have you frozen your equity lines of credit?
Absolutely. But I still get the letters, you know.
Yeah, we'll shift a little bit. Go ahead.
When you get a real ID, there's automatic voter registration. That data does come to the Cook County Clerk's office, and your registration is updated based on that real ID. If you get a driver's license and they take the documentation, and you have documentation that you're a citizen, that information does come to the Cook County Clerk. So it's not like we're asking you to bifurcate information from one entity to the other. All that information comes in, the clerk is registering you, and you should be very confident that you're registered in the system.
We're gonna shift gears to some of the other services that you can get through the clerk's office. But some of you know this. I've spent my life working in the data and analytics business, and just came across a service that they will go make the formal request to all of the data brokers out there that have all your information. And right now, I'm up to 300 companies that they found that have bits and pieces of information on Jim Dodge. And so the real risk to all of us from a cybersecurity perspective or a privacy perspective, all the things you're going through, is really, in my humble opinion, not government. It's all of the applications we have on our phones. It's all of the other ways for people. They all assemble little bitty slices of information about you. So somebody somewhere says, this looks like the perfect buyer of a Chevy pickup. That's how that business works. And so I'm telling you from my experience in data and analytics for 40 years, plus what I know about with government data, it's typically not government that's the problem on these things. It's largely unregulated use of data in the private sector, largely for sales and marketing purposes. So it's a systematic problem. It's generally, like I said, not government. But with that happy note, I'm sorry, one more.
Healthcare, because I get them all the time for healthcare. Healthcare is the
Did
one I
everybody-
get for
yeah.
medical information.
And how many of you had this experience? You're talking to a friend about whatever. Could be a pair of shoes, could be a vacation, could be anything. The next day, you're inundated with ads. Does that happen to anybody? Well, that's because your phone is listening to everything that you do. And, you know, there's a lot of technology now on the TVs that the device itself is keeping track of what you watch. And so I'm just saying, just amongst friends here, that what's happening now is a lot of the data issues are not governmental. It's the devices. And, you know, it is what it is. It's welcome to the modern era. But I want to shift to a happier topic, I think, which is let the clerk talk about all the other services that are available through her office.
So I think the services that you guys are mostly aware of are probably vital records. So the clerk's office is kind of in terms of your life from cradle to the grave, with the birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates, so all the major milestones in life. And even in terms of recording of property deeds when you buy your first house. So, and we publish the tax rates. We don't assess and determine the tax rates. I want to make that clear. We are the last step in the tax process, and we publish the tax rates. We also have an amazing Veterans Services Department as well. And so we like to provide additional services to veterans and highlight them. And we have a card that has a plethora of businesses that veterans can receive discounts from as well. So those are just some of the additional services that you can obtain at the clerk's office.
I'm going to confess that I didn't know that about veteran services. So the next time I'm at American Legion Post 111 here in Orland Park, I'm going to remind the guys. So that's good to know. Any questions? We can give you some mic time. Come on.
I was just applauding that because the clerk does a lot of work. She's making a lot of things accessible. And she's just bringing a lot of resources directly into the communities, which is why we're in places like that. So all I was doing was my little snap, which was an applaud. To
And your
you.
phone is listening to you.
And it always does, but at least we're doing good stuff, right?
So we'll see if you start getting ads tomorrow from Facebook about, the American Legion. Any other questions or comments? Because one of the reasons we wanted to do this is just to say thank you to Clerk Gordon for bringing early voting to this facility, because I think it's going to work out better for everybody else. So this is just it's a good collaboration. I just kind of want to celebrate that. And then just the idea here is, how do we get more people to vote, right? It comes down to all of this, all of the issues we talked about. Data security, getting people off the rolls, what we do, ballot box, that all works, but we could overwhelm the system with more people voting, more people taking it seriously, the right, and if you will, the duty to vote. We have a representative democracy. Well, let's go pick representatives we like. And so I just would like to put it out there for everybody. Let's keep encouraging people to vote.
Especially the young people. We're focusing on that demographic within the clerk's office. I know Ed mentioned the partnership we have with the Chicago Bears to train high school students to become election judges, because when they participate in the process, they stay with the process. I mean, if you have someone directly and they learn how to be directly involved with the process, they'll become lifetime voters. And so with that partnership is happening here at high schools in Orland Park. So we appreciate your commitment, your engagement, and we want to keep this going. But the way we want to really increase voter turnout is addressing securing the youth, as well as other generations too. It's a multi-generational plan where we all work together to strengthen our democracy.
I think there's a misconception with some of these people. The older voters will be training the younger voters, because they're going to say, well, the reason I don't vote, when I was going door to door and they said, I don't vote. And I said, why? And they said, well, because I don't want to become a jury duty. I don't want jury duty. They have that misconception. So if you could tell them, or have some kind of announcement made about misconceptions. Well, I don't know, but that's a misconception.
All right, the lawyer's going to answer.
Well, it's not actually. While I was an assistant state's attorney, I worked in the grand jury for almost 10 years, and we picked a new grand jury of people who had gotten summons to the grand jury. Okay. And it is taken from the voter rolls. However, anybody who is over 60 automatically gets a waiver of jury duty. Well, actually last month I went down to the Daily Center. I think it's a privilege to be a juror, but that's me. But and if people are using that as an excuse, you can always call or text or write the chief judge and tell him why you don't want to come. I mean,
So Mary,
they're pretty good.
there's a lady over here who said she's still getting notices that she shouldn't be getting.
My dead husband got him. He also got him for the 10 years he had dementia, and every time I had to send in saying, you don't want him on your jury.
But is he off the voter rolls?
It's not my job to take him off the voter roll. I got him to the end of his life.
All right, so I want to ask the clerk to explain the difference between her office and the office that's doing that, because people hear the terms and they think they're the same.
So there are so many different types of clerks, like our beloved clerk here, right here in Orland Park. Also, in the city of Chicago, for every municipality, there's usually a clerk. So in the city of Chicago has Anna Valencia. So in terms of the clerks of Cook County would be me, the clerk of Cook County, but also there's the clerk of Circuit Court that covers Cook County as well. That's Mariana Sparopoulos. And we said Mariana and Anna, we're going to do a joint video. We're kind of explain what the different clerks do. So be on the lookout for that too.
We'll make sure we get a hold of it, because we'll push that out. We're trying to make sure that one of the ideas we have is just to make sure people know. We're never going to always agree on everything. There's always different ways to see things, right? Every hilltop's got 360 degrees of view, but at least people know. So if the contribution to democracy is it's easy to vote, you're registered to vote, and you're being told the fact set, then people can kind of chip into the decisions. Go ahead, ma'am.
I have a question. Could you send out to everyone?
Hang on, let's get the microphone.
Could you send out like a blurb? Voting is going to be here like to all the people, like through text or through email to get more voters?
Yep.
So one of the reasons I'm up here is because our office will be pushing out a lot of the PR to our Orland residents about dates and times and locations that we can do it. So you can call me, but that's one of the things that we as a village are going to be committed to doing while we're here.
Do you want to address what you guys, because you guys do mailings all the time.
Oh, yes, we have constant communication. Our PR department, Sally Daly is here. She does all the communications. She works with Ed, the elections department, to make sure that we have the information that's out there, to make sure you know all the dates, what you need to do, anything relating to elections. We've been pretty diligent about getting that information out. Yeah.
So that new information will be online, so if anyone wants to check and say, oh, it's not, and the township gets over here now.
Yeah.
Or phone calls for those who don't use
It, yeah, well, we always try to balance it just purely from the village perspective. You'd be surprised the number of people, when you're out campaigning, we'll just change hats for a second, you'd be surprised at the number of people that don't know there's an election coming. It's just amazing. And so it's one of those things where we constantly try to make sure that people are aware of the election, and then on their own resources, they could go get the information they need. So we're going to keep doing that, and we want to do that in coordination with the clerk's office, just to make sure that we owe it to the people to say, one, can we make it more convenient for you to vote? Yes, that worked out pretty well with our two offices. Very happy about that. Now, can we tell you that you've got between, is it March 2nd and St. Patty's Day? Right, that's the day of the election. So we'll just get it out there that there's a voting going on. And you know, it's the primary system. So, and then, you know, you guys all know how this works. There's a couple of folks in here like me that have gray hair in the temples, right? It matters to the primary because it matters in November. And what happens in November has a lot to do with the future direction of our country. So wherever you settle on that one, participating is what we're trying to beseech everybody to. We'd like everybody here to be an ambassador to get folks to step up and vote.
And I think it's really important also that we continue this energy and communication when it comes to consolidated elections. That like the next consolidated election would be in April 2027. And that's when your local government, you're voting for members of your local government, such as, you know, mayor here, but all of those offices. So I think it's very important. The turnout is extremely low. And I'm talking about countywide, not specifically here in Orland Park, where you got for like a gubernatorial or presidential election on average is about 70%. It drops down to 20% during these consolidated elections. So we want to continue this energy to make sure, because this is, I mean, when your local consolidated elections, those are the elections that affect your daily life the most.
They do.
Think about your fire department, your police department. Those are the elections we want to make sure people stay engaged, are interested, and they're having those fiery debates about, because we want them to participate in those elections as well.
I have a question, well, maybe not for you, but for Mary and you. How do you plan on letting the Orland Park citizens know that voting will be this day and the change? Like, what is the plan?
We, at a minimum, we're going to do everything we can digitally to let people know, because if we were to send you a piece of mail tomorrow, even a postcard is going to cost 60 cents a house. Times 22,000 households, that gets to be a pretty pricey mailing pretty quickly. So we're going to use as much digital communication as we can. I'll just say Facebook to keep it short and easy. A lot of people, so that's what we're going to try and do. One of the things that we're thinking about, is having the ability to communicate more directly on relatively things like texting. But we're going to ask people's permission. Would you like to be able to hear an update from the village via text or via email? Because it's a lot cheaper for us. It's instant, and then everybody could know. So we're working on trying to make sure that nobody in Orland Park doesn't know. I think my 5th grade English teacher just cringed with that sentence. Right?
What about,
we want everybody to know. It's important to participate.
what about putting like signs throughout our village?
We could. We'll just talk to the lawyers and the village manager to make sure we don't violate the sign ordinance. But it's a good point to kind of tell everybody,
There's so much.
because that's, that gets so picky with what you can or can't display.
Put a sign in the old place to say the new place is across the street, just as a precaution.
And we're gonna, a lot of folks. Sorry, Mary, I'll stop. You give somebody who's half Irish a microphone, it's kind of a problem. Well, Mary's, well, there you go. That's the other half Irish, right? So, we're going to try and do as much as we can on places where the public goes, like inner parks or up and down Ravinia. But like I said, we want to be respectful that we don't allow politicians to put their signs in the right of way, and you don't allow businesses. So you quickly get into First Amendment issues. So, Mary?
The other thing I would like to address is that we all know that there is a certain population that might not be as tech-friendly as the younger population. Okay, that includes me, the older population. And we also know, it's easy to say, it's going to be online. We're going to put it on our website. We're going to send you this and that. Well, a lot of our seasoned voters, I want to say, don't have access to that. So we have publications, I love the sign idea, but we also have publications through the village that we have a village publication. We have one directly related to seniors and senior focusing. And that's one of the things that, me as clerk is going to make sure that it's pumped up for information that seniors need to learn. We actually have quite a few members of our senior committee here today. Thank you, everybody. And we're coming up with ideas to reach that population that is not as tech savvy as everybody else. Okay.
Any other? Go ahead. We'll get you a microphone.
Hi, I'm Tony Barrett, and I'm here representing individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities who often don't have a voice, so I'd like to speak for them for a second here. There's approximately 150 to 200,000 individuals in Illinois that are voting age and with a disability. And I'd like to personally just thank the clerk and thank the mayor for thinking about spaces and ways to engage them and bring them into the focus as well. We did talk about senior citizens, but I want to make sure that we talk about those that don't have a voice necessarily, but do have the right to vote as well. So thank you for thinking about them behind the scene, and thank you. Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome, Tony. I think we have one more question, and we'll wrap up. We're going to stick around and kind of chat because there's a bag of Fritos back there with my name on it. So.
I don't have a question, but I did want to just say that I feel like you guys do a great job in communicating. I'm on different Facebook government things that I get stuff from, and I get a newsletter thing from the assessor's office, and I get a little newspaper thing from the village, and all of those always, I see that the early voting is going to be over here. I've seen it a million times. I also think that for the seasoned, I think you need to go to the libraries and get in those classes because they're not changing. They're not going to change. Anything you do is automated. We have to get on board with it or we're going to be lost.
Amen.
No, it's true, and for everybody here, to whatever extent you use the technologies like Facebook or any of the other social media platforms, as it comes to voting, just keep telling people there's no excuses anymore for people not voting. You've got vote by mail. You've got plenty of information being communicated by your elected officials and the people who want to be your elected officials. I think that it's been remarkable. I'm old enough that you had to show up on election day. Remember those? Yeah, exactly, right? So we're all there. And it's just voting has become so convenient. So how do we drive up that turnout? Because then I think it starts to change the country where it's like, you know what? 75% of America voted and this is what they decided. Okay, let's get on with it. And then and to the Clerk Gordon's point, we'd love to see higher participation in the April elections. Anybody here like your property tax bill? 2/3 of that property tax bill is controlled by the boards you vote for in April. So think about that. So if you're paying a $10,000 property tax bill, nearly $7,000 of that property tax bill is controlled by your fire district, your village, your township, your schools. Those elections have some of the lowest historic turnout, as Clerk Gordon said. So we've got to try and get more people to be cognizant and aware of what's going on, because that's when it really matters. And I think you stated it well. Your local tax bill has a lot to do with your daily lives. So we'd love to continue to work on getting that turnout up.
And I want to say to all of you, you guys are not only constituents, but you are community leaders. You show up, you're engaged. So I need your help. With this United States Postal Service change with mail ballots, and you may know a lot of people who vote by mail, let them know. Request their ballot early. Send in their ballot early, or take it to the local post office, ask the clerk to postmark it, or take it to the early voting locations, to the ballot box. Please, I need you as community leaders to get out the information to make sure that people know they got to submit that ballot early so there are no problems. Please. Thank you so much.
Once you vote by mail, do you automatically get a ballot for the next election, or do you have to reapply every time?
Well, some people get permanent vote by mail status. You can apply for that, or you can just apply for a mail ballot. Yeah.
How do they find you and your staff? So if anybody in this room or anybody that you know has a question, how do they track you down? That was that an easy question I set her up with?
Yeah, they have cards and they're ready for you. Yeah.
We're right here.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're going to stick around and, just would love to continue the chat, and we'll keep going. Thank you.